Hi, I'm Baynard Bailey, and I'm from Academic Computing Services. Nicole, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Nicole Scalessa. I'm head of digital scholarship and technology services, and I work at a library.
Um, so today we're going to talk about various web resources you have as a member of the Vassar community for building websites. We're about Google Sites, pages.vassar.edu, which is a multi-site for WordPress. We have vassarspaces.net, where you can become your own system admin and install WordPress or other applications. And Nicole's going to talk about more options in Domain of One's Own. So Google Sites, they're baked into your Google for Education domain. If you click on the grid in the top right corner, you'll see this icon here where it says Google Sites. Um, the great thing about these sites is that you can just make one at will. You don't need anyone to approve it. The layouts are pretty straightforward and appealing, and it works really well with resources that you put into Google Drive or YouTube. The cons are like you can pretty quickly reach the limitations of what the website allows. You don't have control over your domain, which is your web address, and there's limited functionality or things that you can do to put in there. But it's for a free and easy to use tool. It's pretty good. So if you needed like something for a class tomorrow, you could do it like late at night and be ready to go. For a long time now at Vassar, we've had pages.vassar.edu. WordPress, which is used by like two-thirds of the internet, is free and open source software that you can install if you have a server, which is what CIS did. It's the same software that's working at WordPress.com, for example. The Except for this one is run by CIS folks and it's on a server that we take care of. So the pros are it works really great with the Vassar LDAP directory. Uh, it so if you're it has we have a nice set of plugins and themes. We have a nice Gravity Forms is installed there. So if you're collecting data from Vassar users, it's super, or from outside. Um, it works really great if you have a whole class that wants to run a blog. This is the tool to use. It can easily embed content from other sites. Um, and within, I always joke about when I have a meeting about WordPress, I sit down with someone for 10 minutes, we knock out the whole site really quickly, and we're like, oh, what else are we going to do for the rest of the hour? Because you can just get a lot done very quickly. The cons are you do have to wait a little bit, so someone has to approve you, or somebody in ACS needs to like look at your request and then say yes. Usually it's within one business day or less. There are only so many themes that are in there, and there are only the plugins that we have installed. So if you want more functionality or more themes, or you want to hack themes, probably the multi-site isn't going to be your best option. Um, Within the last year, we've gotten vassarspaces.net. So vassarspaces.net is a domain hosting service that we contract with Domain of One's Own. So students or faculty or anyone in the Vassar community can sign up to run their own subdomain. Uh, Most people are running WordPress, so you can just do anything you want. It's up to date WordPress. You can pick your own themes. You can hack your themes. You can install plugins, and you can FTP to the backend. Anything you want to do that's possible within WordPress, you can do. We can help you and help troubleshoot things. But in a way, we get to the con side here is that you're going to have to be ready to sort of handle some more technical things that you'd probably have to deal with if you're just using pages.vassar.edu. Your single sign-on only works for the super admin of the site. So what does that mean? It means like if you had a few users, they'd all be local accounts that you would have to create and and administer. So that can be kind of a pain in the butt. Um, and you have to wait for someone to review it. So that also probably happens within a business day, and you might need to sit down with someone when you first get started. Uh, Nicole's going to talk about a little more of the Domain of One's Own options.
Okay, so Domain of One's Own, when you receive your account access, is going to give you access to a dashboard, and that's going to be your hosting dashboard. And that gives you the option to not only install WordPress, but you can install many other programs, and you can install multiple programs. You don't have to just have one instance of one thing. And some of those options include, and have been our most popular options, are Scalar and Omeka. So Scalar is an effort to create an easy publishing platform that was scalable, that you could expand. So when you install Scalar, you have one installation of the platform itself, but you can create multiple books or multiple sites within Scalar, which it makes it scalable. So you could have two classes simultaneously having their own instances or their own books within Scalar working at the same time. Scalar, the uniqueness of it is that it's not only in a kind of book format with a table of contents, but it also allows you to create what they call paths. And paths are similar to back in the day when you had your make your own story books, where if you said, if you want to do this, go to page 5. If you want to do this, go to page 10. So people can kind of make their own story within Scalar, creating these paths. So it's very flexible. It's very extensible. There's so much you can do. If you have a creative idea, it's just this, you can really, the sky's the limit with Scalar. It's really flexible and wonderful. And you can use it over a long period of times because you can just keep adding more books and you don't have to keep reinstalling another version of it. Whereas WordPress, if you want to have another WordPress site, you got to install WordPress a second time. So that's the main difference. So Omeka, on the other hand, is more of a database. So if you've ever used something like FileMaker or a library catalog where you could search records, Omeka allows you to create records that are searchable. But it also has a feature where you can take those records and customize them and curate them into online exhibitions within Omeka. So there is kind of a web design piece that allows you to create web pages within Omeka. You can also create like a landing page, an overview page to describe your project that then leads to the database itself that can be searched. You can create multiple collections within your database, and those collections can be searched with a simple keyword search over all the collections, or they give the option of an advanced search or a Boolean search, which allows you to filter down and really drill down to the content that you really want to have. Now, Omeka follows a lot of best practices as far as what we call cataloging or describing your record. Out of the box, it focuses on what we call Dublin Core, which is a descriptive content type schema. But you're not tied to just using Dublin Core. If you find that the fields within Dublin Core do not fit your unique content type, you can actually create your own content type with your own fields. So it has a lot of flexibility. It's really great. It also has some great plugins that if you do want to stick with Dublin Core, or say you want to bring in some what we call authorities, things that really make all of your, say, your subject headings or your genre headings consistent, you can bring in a plugin from the Library of Congress that as you start to type, it'll give you suggestions of the official names of things, geographic places, authors, things like that. So if you have students working in Omeka, this is a great tool because it keeps their data consistent. You don't have one person's name typed 10 different ways, which is really great. So if we go to the next slide, we have a bunch of examples of these. I won't click on them now, but feel free to browse these just as a quick overview of them. So the Celebrating Dante is in Scalar, and that is a great kind of combination of a use of the book platform, but also utilizing it out of the box in a way as an online exhibition platform. So we've combined those two features of essays and an online exhibition within that. So, and there's multiple within the table of contents, you will see what we consider like chapters, but each of those chapters take you on different paths and different journeys. In Omeka, we have examples of the first one, the Music Library Programs Collection. That originally was a FileMaker database that was really old. And it took us over a year to get the data ready because there were thousands of records. But we were able to move that database into Omeka, excuse me, clean up the data, and now we're adding images to each of those records within that system. Now the Catherine Libin Intensive, that is a group, it's in its second semester, and it's a group of roughly 6 students who are choosing a musical treasure or instrument in the music library. They are doing extensive research. They are learning how to photograph and be curators of these items, these objects, and then they're putting the data into Omeka and creating a record for each of those musical treasures. So it's a really great project, and the Omeka was just the perfect fit after many iterations using spreadsheets and things like Airtable. This was really what they were looking for. So take a look at that. And with WordPress, using Domain of One's Own with WordPress, just to see how much freedom you have outside of the old Pages environment, you can visit these sites. The Disco site and the Herbarium site use a theme called Ash, ASHE, but you can see how different they look. So different themes can, if you find a good theme, that has a lot of support behind it in the community. You see that a lot of people have downloaded it. It's been updated within the last couple months. Then you can feel confident that it's a good theme, and you can use it in multiple ways. And usually they're very extensible and easily customizable. So you can see the real differences between how a theme can be applied across different sites if you view those. The Votes for Women site, you can see a variety of different document types that have been applied. There's not only images, there are PDFs, there's links out to other websites. We have what we call a Lightbox feature that allows you to click on a thumbnail, the full-size image pops up, and then you can zoom in, drag your mouse around to see different parts of the object. And there's also different slideshows and things. We've used a lot of different ways to view objects in that exhibit. And the Workprints online exhibition, that's another great one. It doesn't have as many of the bells and whistles. That's more, you can really see the artistic side of WordPress and how you can really leverage the themes to represent art in a really dramatic way. So, and in a very straightforward way. So that was a really fun project. So yeah, so feel free to take a look at all of these. And if you see aspects of them that you want to apply to your site, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to direct you to where to find those plugins and how to customize them.
And both Academic Computing Services and the Digital Library are eager to help you with your project. So don't be shy about reaching out. You don't have to know anything. That's what we're here for. We can help you learn things or figure things out.
Yes, and I did add a new slide after this one.
Oh, there's one more slide. There we go.
May have to refresh. There should be a preservation.
Let's see here. There it is.
Okay, so after you've done all the hard work, you want to make sure that your work is protected and the work of others is protected. So if you are doing work in, say, Omeka or even Scalar, and you want to make sure that you have the correct rights statements for the work. And rightstatements.org is a really great resource to walk you through that process and what the correct statement to use in different scenarios is. Finally, we do have a preservation strategy in place at Vassar College Libraries, and we have staff in place to take care of preservation needs. So you can go to this link and learn more about what our practices are and how to get your work preserved and what our decision-making process is on what we preserve and when and how.